Yeah, exactly. I think in order to embrace it, we have to just, you know, chat and go for it because we've had very good conversations in the past, even before we recorded, and I feel like
Mm.
a lot of our warm ups have been like wasted in a way, like because we've had such a good convos, and I almost feel like we've already kind of peaked maybe sometimes in our
Mm.
warm up, and then it feels more forced at times later on.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not sure. I'm just saying that maybe that was the case. Um, but I wanted to ask you actually.
Mm.
Um, did you use Air India when you
Uh,
were coming back from India? I know it's
I I think I did use it, but I flew on about 3 or 4 different flights, maybe more, on my way to India, then through India, and then back. I think I used a 1-hour flight from New Delhi to somewhere else in India, or vice versa. That was, yeah, so I
Ooh.
have been on a Air India flight, which, yeah, it does bring it a bit closer to home.
No, I was yeah. I just wanted. I don't know. It's. I don't know if we should be discussing it because it's been very recent and obviously so many people died.
Mm.
Um, but I was just I was hearing it the other day and I was thinking of you when you traveled
Yeah.
to India like a month ago. Like it
A
wasn't
bit
even.
longer than that, but yeah, it does
Yeah,
feel quite close.
it feels like so
Yeah,
so
it could
close.
could have been you, like, yeah, if you just got unlucky, it could have been. Yeah,
Yeah, and
and
obviously there was one survivor. I don't know if you heard about.
I couldn't believe that, and he didn't seem particularly injured.
I
Yeah,
know,
he was able to walk away, wasn't he? So, that's a miracle, although, yeah,
I know, but
it's tough
then
for everyone else.
everyone talks about how it was God's will, blah blah blah. Divine providence, whatever
Mm,
that is. But how can you say it's divine providence when so many innocent people died at the same time?
yeah,
Uh, it's hard to kind of say that to all the families, I suppose, of the people who died in that flight.
oh, yeah, for sure.
It, it,
Yeah,
it's it's hard to talk about this kind of things in that way because I think in similar kind of even in the past I always heard about there's one single survivor of a major disaster and everyone says you know it's probably it was meant to be or if it was
yeah,
like
like God save you for a reason or whatever, like,
all this
that's obviously
yes.
possible, but, like, my sort of thinking of this now is like, yeah, if you're thinking like, "Oh, God save you for a reason," then that's like, you're gonna feel like you really need to do something, and you're really gonna try and find your purpose, and that's probably actually not gonna be why you're here, and it's probably gonna upset you and upset other people by you just thinking, "Oh, I need to be purposeful," because it builds up the ego saying, "Oh, I was saved." It can build up the ego if you say, "I was saved and I was meant to be here."
Mm,
Whereas I think the right attitude might be just to be really like amazed at your luck and
mm,
just grateful in that way, but you're not doing grateful as in God saved me. Maybe that was true, but you're just like God in a way. If God exists, is a mystery, I reckon. So it's not like you're saying thank you God for saving me. It's just like wow, how did how am I still alive? That just brings like some more joy to life.
mm. I agree. I would just treat it as equivalent to winning the lottery because literally I suspect the chances are probably similar
Mm,
winning the lottery as surviving a disaster of this kind of
yeah.
magnitude where everyone dies and you're the single survivor out of hundreds
Yeah,
of people
and
that
we say
that
he
died.
got lucky, but I think his brother was on the flight, so it's not like he got lucky completely. Like, he's gonna have a tough time as well.
Oh yeah, imagine the guilt you might be feeling of maybe you could have done something or helped someone else or
Yeah, maybe, but I think he wasn't really in. If when he recounted the story, it's almost like he didn't know what was happening until it sort of
no,
happened.
yeah, yeah, but you know it's still like very traumatic, and
Yeah.
as you say, it's not all luck. Obviously, surviving something like that.
Well, there was another. I think it was a British student, and she missed the flight by 10 minutes. And if
I,
yeah,
I heard about that student as well. It reminds me a little bit of um, you know, in other disasters like that. In a few years back in Greece, there was this huge train
Mm.
train wreck that happened, where so many students died. They were coming back, come home after celebrations and stuff, and two trains collided,
Mm.
and it shouldn't have happened, obviously, because they were both traveling on the same track. So it was a head-on collision, and so many people died. And there were people that had come up then and said, "Oh, I missed that train like for a few minutes because I was doing something," and then a few people survived because they weren't on there. Or there was an extraordinary case of someone who was like almost everyone died in the first coach, and then someone who was sitting in the first coach moved back to talk to a friend of theirs who was on the same train, and their life was spared.
And the what was first?
Their life was spared. They
Spared.
they they,
Oh,
they
right.
actually survived
Yeah.
the train wreck just because they they realized that a friend of theirs was also on the train, but they were in the back of the train, so they moved
Right.
a
Just
few
to.
minutes before
Right.
it
Yeah.
happened. And it's just things like that makes you kind of question how much luck is involved, or if there is such thing as
Yeah. It does like seem like luck, but often you feel so lucky for getting so much luck. Like, I think if you pay attention, like if I pay attention to my life, I feel like, yeah, there's been multiple moments where there's been small bits of luck or big bits of luck, which I couldn't have really planned. So you can sort of see why someone would be convinced God exists. But yeah, like I think that perhaps doesn't matter so much. It's
mm,
more just appreciating the luck and not trying to probe too much because I think we're limited beings. So to try and understand is probably going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot.
mm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would argue that if you don't know why something happens, we shouldn't be jumping onto God to fill in the gaps
Yeah,
for our knowledge as
and
usual.
I would say equally, yeah, we should be worried about saying, oh, it definitely wasn't God or whatever. So it's sort of like you're not jumping down on one side or the other, which is
Mm.
hard for us to do sometimes.
I suppose people would have an issue with that just because I suppose a lot of people's brains like to jump to the superstitious side of things.
Mm,
We all like to think that there was a purpose. I suppose maybe it's the way our brain works. We kind of want to try and find a justification or a reason on why things happen. So a lot of people would say, "Oh, maybe there was some kind of power at play here. That's why they like to put God, I think, into the equation,
mm,
and not just absurdism. There is no actual order in the universe, and everything just happens
yeah.
randomly, and it's just a chaotic soup of events that transpires that we have no control over, and we're just
Well, absurdism can slip into nihilism, but I actually think absurdism can transform if we sort of accept a bit of absurdism, which is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, if
mm,
you read that. Then it's almost like that frees you up a bit more, and then reality doesn't look so bad. So it's a bit of a paradox, sort of embracing the chaos. Things become a bit less chaotic, at least
yeah.
for
But
your
ca-
attitude.
but do you think can most people's psyche manage that there is no higher purpose, there's no higher meaning, there's no higher authority, and like do you think um people's mental health could, like, on a societal level, could actually um come to terms with that? I don't know. I don't think a lot of people are ready to accept that. I think a lot of people, if they if you kind of force them to kind of think that way, they wouldn't have a reason to get out of the bed in the morning and go to work, and live a life. They'd be like, there's no point. They'd become quite sad and depressed.
Yeah, quite possibly. But also, that might not be the case. It might be, but once you let go of that idea, um, and if you also let go of other ideas that you have, which are fantasies, plans, or whatever, concepts, all ideas, and if you can drop those, then I feel like you do naturally fall into a bit more of an abundant state. Maybe if you've got clinical depression, you got neuro misbalance in the brain, then that might be a different story, maybe. But yeah, I think reality can be pretty good. Like, it's obviously got loads of suffering in, but reality can be pretty good. And then you just naturally get up in the morning. You don't need an impetus, because you've got a joy to go out there and live.
Hmm. I don't know. You say reality is pretty good, but we live in a world where everyone is trying to escape their reality through their screens and phones constantly now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's probably, I would say it's not so much, yeah, a problem of those phones, but like, you shouldn't like necessarily ban phones or whatever some people might want to do. It's more where we haven't got anything more exciting outside of the screens to entertain us. So our lives are not as full of awe or whatever, or fun, play, as they could be. And I think are, but you have to let go of the limiting beliefs, as it were,
Hmm.
all the things that get in the way.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could argue that even before screens, people would use books to escape their realities, read lots of stories, read,
Yeah, and I think
you know.
that's fine. Like, escapism is fine to some extent, but if you're always wanting to escape, you have to ask, like, why is that? And
Hmm.
yeah, I think everything's healthy in moderation.
Yeah, of course, but that's the problem. The problem is that our I think our technology, to a way, in a sense now, it's designed to kind of hold our attention as much as possible, and
Yeah,
and
that's, I guess, true. I'm sure lots of studies have proved it, but also we often accept that line as truth,
mm,
and therefore we use that as an excuse to take away our own power, to sort of say, "Oh, it's hopeless fighting against these algorithms because we got no chance anyway."
mm.
But actually, that's not quite the case.
Oh no, I completely agree with that. Like, I think a lot of times on, especially on the internet, you hear that people really try to get out of personal responsibility. You know, not a lot of people talk about personal responsibility um and taking charge of your life and your situation, really.
Yeah,
And
it's sort of like an ironic, like, paradoxical. You're taking charge to in order to let go, because only
mm,
you can let go of those limiting beliefs, plans, whatever, that are getting in the way of you experiencing reality itself. So
mm,
yeah,
and
I think it is up to you, but that's not in an egotistical way of you're going to up to you to improve your life, to build your ego or whatever. It's yeah, it's just up to you to let go.
mm, yeah, because I think a lot of people, especially online, that's what I see, at least in different social media apps and stuff. You see a lot of people just blaming everything, everything around them. They just blame the internet. They just blame people's attitudes. They just blame politics. They blame
Mm.
101 things as to why their lives isn't where they think they should be.
Yeah.
And it's like, your life isn't where you want to be because you are not taking the steps towards where you want to be, really.
And that's not to say the blame is not sometimes justified. Like, sometimes it actually is like,
No, but
maybe
but
people got treated unfairly or whatever by
it's
life.
never a fair game. It's
No,
never
no,
going to be a fair game.
exactly. So yeah, yeah, people want to have that maybe accepted, but yes, maybe these are fair excuses, but we don't we we, we don't need to. Yeah, and these are fair excuses, and what are you going to do now? What's your
Eh,
attitude?
Exactly.
Is it going to be a good attitude or a bad attitude?
Hmm. Hmm. I think this is like I know it might sound a little bit bad, I suppose, but I think this is one of the aspects of the red pill, quote unquote, movement these days that is a little bit bundled with all the other bad things that come out of the red pill movement.
What is the red pill movement?
It's it's effectively this kind of alpha male, kind of
Well, like Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate, effectively.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Andrew Tate, alpha male kind of mentality thing, which obviously has a lot of bad things that are coming out of it, but a lot of the things that are being said are kind of encouraging people to, especially men, to kind of take accountability of where their lives are,
Mm.
and kind of do things, whether it is improve their physical health, improving their mental health, um, improving their job status or whatnot. I think I cannot see how these would be bad things. But obviously there is negative things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot more teachers are more and more aware of the negatives of influencers like Andrew Tate. Obviously, yeah, he probably has got some good advice, but like all of us, I guess he's another human which has flaws and is misguided in some ways as well. So yeah, and like I guess men will be gravitating towards him because of the lifestyle, but not. I think that puts it down too much. Maybe it's not just the lifestyle; it's the strong attitude and the belief. He gives people the belief that you can do something. You can sort your life out. You can get it together.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I just wouldn't necessarily agree with everything he says. But yeah, I don't know.
No, obviously he's more like a caricature. He's almost like a not a caricature, like a movie character.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd say no. He's certainly not like a good example, I would say. Um, but as I said, the message of self improvement isn't a bad message. So I think this is where the problem lies. I suppose people hear that and then they kind of take all of the ideology and try to kind of apply it in their lives with the good and the bad things. And obviously, this is a bad thing when you have teenagers kind of trying to model their lives from influencers.
yeah, yeah.
This is why you need obviously strong male role models in families, really.
Yeah, I guess
Otherwise,
Andrew Tate's popularity is a testament to that. Um, People are looking for, or at least young men are often looking for
mm,
that role model, that father figure, um, and which often the divorce rate's incredibly high, and many fathers are the ones who leave the family or get pushed out. So it's there there is perhaps less male role models for more and more people. And I don't know how that's fixed because you don't necessarily want to go back to a Victorian society. But yeah, it is a problem that has to be acknowledged.
mm, no, yeah, I don't see how we're gonna fix it in the short term or even in the long term, to be honest. But I think a lot of um, religious um, rising has been
What
ki-
the number of religious people increasing?
yeah,
Yeah,
I think has been almost like a reaction to this sort of problem, I think.
yeah. Well, in some ways, it's reaching back to what felt safe and good beforehand, and more and more people were religious. So it's like going back to your roots. But and also, yeah, it's obviously got lots of benefits, but I think you also have to do. I don't know. You have to, there is no one else who's going to train your brain to get in the habit of letting go, and that's a constant practice, pretty much. Not like yeah. So although yeah, I guess things like Christianity help you let go in the way of saying Jesus died for your sins, so you really don't need to worry anymore. He died for everyone's sins. So no, I'm not sure like I believe that happened or not, but I think it's the same sort of idea, and why it appeals but actually works or seems to work is that people are letting go of stuff. You're letting
Mm.
go of all these ideas, ambitions, all this egotistical thought. Well, that's not. I say egotistical, and you could read that as in a bad light, but it's just egotistical as neutral, but it's blinding us from the life which is real. And I would say that's a bit better, maybe a lot better.
Mm. But how do you differentiate between letting go of your ego and trying to improve your life, I suppose, in essence? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, like you say the example of money, it's like some people would say, "Oh, I'm spiritual. I'm not going to have any money, or I'm going to give all my money away," or feeling like I should give all my money away, but really I don't want to.
You can give all your money away and live in the mountains. But like, if you're living in a society, you kind of need the money.
Yeah,
There's no choice. You
yeah.
cannot.
Like people would see maybe money as impure, and maybe in some way it is, but it's more of just. I think if you're going to live in society, you have to realize you're not going to necessarily be able to be all pure, even if you live outside of society. I think that's unrealistic for most people because your impurity is really in the mind anyway. So you can take that with you.
How can you kind of pursue, obviously, material things and money because you have to live in that society while
Well, yeah,
also
yeah,
kind of trying to let go of things as you kind of describe?
yeah. It's a good question. Yeah, I guess you just have to. It's quite subtle, isn't it? Because at one level you're pursuing money because that's just you need that to survive in the society, and then that quickly or subtly flips over to the state of you feeling you really need money and you won't be enough without it, and how are you going to support everyone unless you work a number of hours, and if you don't, then I'm not good enough. So yeah, it's just meaning that money, earning that money or saving that money is not coming from a place of limitation, um,
Mm,
and questioning whether there is some sort of limiting belief or beliefs behind that.
mm. I suppose it's easier to do that, especially if you don't have a family, I suppose, in place. I think if you also have a family that you're trying to provide for, I think it's even
Yeah,
harder to kind of.
that's it is that's harder, but it's also that's a less egotistical thing to work for anyway because you're working to support your family.
Yeah, but then you could say, "Oh, in the name of support for my family, I'll do anything to get money in any way possible, whether it's immoral or
Yeah, yeah.
you
Well,
know."
that's the difference between supporting your family, or it maps onto supporting yourself as well. In terms of if you don't have a family, your money for support versus money for increasing your ego or all the things which go around with ego. And yeah, you have to know that point for your family as well. What is the point where I'm earning this money because I need to support my family, and what is a point where I'm working too hard just because I want to provide my family with even better and better and better, where actually they probably just want you.
Mm, yeah, especially on in today's world where we effectively trade time for money. Effectively, this
Yeah,
is we
which
give
is
our
not
time.
necessarily like completely bad in itself. You just have to find a job you kind of resonate with, and work out how many hours you need to do to make a decent income which supports you and or your family, and then
Well,
and then just work that job and just do the routine for however long it takes. But you're not seeing it as some sort of thing. Oh, they need to get to retirement. That's just how life works. If you're in society, you get a job. Hopefully, it's one you kind of resonate with, and you make enough money, so you're not stressed about money, and you're not needing to earn too much money.
yeah, but the problem is that these days, especially with how our social, not social, our economical state is where our economical state is going, we are we most people seem to need to work more and more and more hours to even live a basic life, really. That's and it doesn't seem to get any better. Like soon people will need to work two jobs to be able to support their family. So even with basic needs. So it's not about being able to work less and still, being able to provide for your family. That's the problem. Like it seems like, at least to me, it seems that the system is kind of built now to make you work more and more for less, especially as an employee, really.
Mm,
We get taxed on everything, and effectively we don't get as much for our time that we give. Like you'd hope that with a normal salary you'd be able to support your family,
mm,
and most people see this as impossible now. I think that's why people aren't having children. Now you have two
mm,
people working and they still cannot support the family. In the past, you'd have just one person working and they'd be able to support a family of four or something with a car and a
mm.
house.
Yeah.
It's like,
Certainly things have changed, but we are lucky in other ways. Like we've got technology is much cheaper and much better than it was. That makes our lives easier in some ways. It also creates problems. But yeah, like that's not to diminish from what you said. Like that's it's not perfect, the system, and I guess capitalism is sort of wired to work that way. But yeah, like I guess it's just working out how much you need to earn and just don't think about it too much. Just earn that and then enjoy your free time and hopefully enjoy your job as well some of the time.
well, ideally, yes. I think if you don't enjoy what you do, you're literally done for. Like you won't be able to last until you retire if you're just working
Yeah, that's why it's
with
more
hating
important
your
to
job.
find a job you kind of like rather than doing a worse job that you don't like just for more money because you actually have more stamina as well to work longer, maybe even get promoted because you like the job. Um,
Mm,
and so yeah, I would always err on the side of accepting a bit less money in order to
yeah.
do something you can do over the long term.
Oh, for sure. Both that and work-life balance, in terms of like getting a job that allows you to have more work-life balance rather than a job that is really stifling in that aspect as well. So for sure, I my hope is that AI will help us to get there. Maybe that
Mm,
will allow people to do just jobs that at least this is my hope, that AI will allow people to do the jobs that they like to do instead of the jobs that they have to do now, because we need people to do the jobs.
yeah, well, that's also could be negative, but yeah, I totally get what you mean. Yeah, like AI, like be careful what you wish for with AI to do all the jobs that we don't like, um, and then we'll just be left with the jobs which our ego wants us to do. So we're doing jobs such as how can I become more famous? How can I earn even more money? So I think
Hmm.
that's the problem. Like if we don't have any menial jobs to do, so menial,
Hmm.
then we're gonna either not do anything and just consume content, or we're gonna try and just focus on egotistical goals, which would be no good for us or others.
Hmm. Or we'll just make more pretend jobs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like we'll have jobs that we kind of say that we have to do, but they aren't really that important. Maybe in the future, when AI does everything crucial for
Mm.
us.
Yeah, it's going to be a real existential crisis for some people and maybe humankind as a whole. Like to get
Hmm.
to that point after all these years of having to work um, to make an income, survive. Now we're left sort of in some way useless in terms of our previous mindset.
Hmm.
So I really don't know how that will go down, but yeah, I guess it probably is coming down the line.
Yeah. I mean, for now, I only see negatives coming up. Like I was reading the other day about how thousands of students in universities in the UK have been caught cheating using AI these days.
All right, that's
So
the ones that actually got caught.
yeah,
Probably a lot
yeah,
haven't.
Yeah, a lot of students have been submitting, essays and stuff using AI. I mean, this is not new. I mean, when I don't know if you had heard it when we were both at uni. I knew there were people who would actually pay others. They would go through this kind of service providers
Mm,
that would provide the service of writing your dissertation for you or your
right.
thesis, or even like different assignments. And I think I knew of someone who actually used one of these services and got caught because they submitted an essay who was also submitted by other people because the other people also used that same service. So
Wow.
they all got caught.
Wow. Well,
um, but
yeah.
so
So
this is effectively now happening with AI. Instead of paying someone to do it, the AI does it, I
I just
suppose.
guess it happens on a larger scale because I guess if you were rich, then you could pay someone to do your dissertation for you, but most people couldn't. Whereas now we got AI, best personal assistant in the world, but for free.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It's too much temptation, I suppose, especially for students. I think in a way.
Yeah, certainly if you're in your
Um,
first year and you realise you've been partying too much, and it's got to an end
mm,
point where you just have to, yeah, come up with something, just chuck it in ChatGPT, and yeah.
yeah.
But I guess I don't know if that would ever work, or whether I think because you get these AI text detectors at the minimum, so
Mm,
they can detect its AI written with quite high accuracy, especially over that many words. So I think there are websites which allows you to change, to take the ChatGPT essay, say, and put it
mm.
into a website which changes the words so it doesn't look as AI
I've
written.
heard about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know
But
how successful they are.
if you went through all of this trouble to get the essay put in ChatGPT, then put it in another program, then put it in another program to make sure it's kind of like changed and then changed again and changed again, you might as well just write it in the end. Like,
Maybe
come on now, what are you doing?
yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's
Until
just.
the AI can do it all for you, like yeah,
I
like
mean, I think
literally
that
work.
that will never be the. I mean, yes, but in terms of like education, unless universities can always kind of identify when it's AI, will really undermine the institutions and their degrees
Mm,
because you just have graduates that know nothing and
yeah.
and they're just going into the workforce.
I
And I
guess yeah,
mean,
you'd have to even put a lot of humanities subjects, which are nearly exclusively coursework or
mm,
essays. You'd have to put them as exams,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
I
for
think would be
sure.
a shame, because that's more of a test of knowledge rather than a creative act. Like
Mm,
if you some essays you can approach with a sort of more creative, exploratory um, perspective, because that's you got the time to do it. So
mm,
you could end up losing that more original perspective, but and well researched. If you just get people to sit an exam and they've only got an hour to think about the question.
yeah, as you said, it's more of a exercise in memorizing stuff and then regurgitating
Yeah.
in an exam. So yeah, I don't know. I was watching another video the other day online about how another teacher was complaining about like I don't know, primary or secondary schools. I think secondary school teacher um, was complaining about how children in her class um, are not able to kind of. They don't even want to think. Effectively, the gist was of your video was that children in secondary school or whatever like stage of education they are at the point now of using AI for everything. They won't even read the prompt. Like they won't even read the question the teacher is giving them. The
Mm.
question is copied and pasted into the AI, into whatever AI program they're using, and they're
Yeah.
just getting the answer, copying that and replying with it. Like
Mm.
no thought at all. Like nothing. Like, and that's what she was saying she was worried about. And I can
Mm.
kind of see it in a way because yes, people were arguing in the comments that in this kind of scenario, AI is just doing what other technologies have done, like the calculator, for example.
Mm.
And someone was saying, no, that's not the same because to use a calculator, you still need to know what formula to use, multiplication, division,
Yeah.
addition. you already know what to use. In the AI, you're just copying and pasting without reading, without any input. Like your brain is just like doing nothing other than copying and pasting. And I suppose this is was convincing to me in some ways that it might not be all good if children
Yeah.
aren't taught how to use AI in the right way. Of course, like
Mm.
and
Yeah, I guess it's like sex education, isn't it? It's like, when do you teach it?
yeah,
And
exactly. Like
yeah, like what age are you actually introducing it too young, and maybe
mm,
and what age, yeah, do you need to taught it to teach them to use it well in the real world, where they're going to end up in. So yeah, but it's almost something you don't need to teach so much, because it's the AI is so user friendly. So unlike any other previous technology, so we as a generation, what are we, naughties kids?
uh
Is that
yeah,
90s?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So we were known for being good with technology, even if we weren't like really techy. We were sort of,
Mm,
because we grew up with technology, so we knew where things were, how they were configured. But now with AI, you don't need to be an expert, like, and that's going to increasingly become the case that even, yeah, like grannies who would just struggle to get to grips with a lot of the new technology, the old new technology, the new old
mm,
technology, then AI is just going to be much more user friendly for old people, and same for children as well. So it's not like you necessarily, it's not a very convincing argument to say, oh, we need to teach these kids AI from a young age, because oh, they're going to miss out on
mm,
opportunities if compared to other kids who were taught it. I don't think that's a particularly convincing argument for the risk of, yeah, teaching kids AI earlier on, and then the longer you can not teach it, the more proper education may have, traditional, how it was done traditionally.
mm. Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. As you say, it's not, especially with the way that AI is changing and the pace at which it's actually changing. Probably what you teach now, it's not going to be relevant in 5 years.
Yeah, well,
So,
you're basically, yeah, the end point of AI, which we kind of already got to some extent, is just you having a conversation with a friend, and the friend has got Google wired into their brain, and all the much of the world's information at its fingertips. And so yeah, you're just conversing. So as long as you know how to converse, which is just, I think, is a skill we actually often get worse at over time rather than better. But yeah, it's an intuitive skill.
mm, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the increase in like of teaching AI like that, even in schools and stuff. I think that obviously, it could be good, but I don't know if it's just creating like people that are even more lazy and they don't want to think at all.
Yeah,
um,
well, it's certainly, like, it's never black or
but
white,
but
but
but yeah,
yeah,
but you know what I also think? I also wonder if sometimes if our generation, kind of how we look at today's grannies, as you said, and we kind of think of them as almost technologically illiterate.
yeah.
And I do wonder if the way that technology advances so fast, even for us now as like millennials, if we're gonna be like those grannies when we're older.
Well, I think all of humanity will be, to some extent,
You think so?
because it will be moving so quickly.
I don't know. I think the new generations are becoming smarter and they pick up technology faster, like faster than what we did. And I almost feel like the younger generations are better with technology and
Yeah,
using AI.
they are better, but then that's like a small ant and a big ant against a man. So yeah, AI, if it does continue its trajectory, is going to be, um, yeah, like, it's going to
You think so?
outpace our
Everyone.
ability to be experts in using it. But I don't think that will be a problem. And I think actually, with uh, AI getting better will actually become more democratic, so even older people can use it intuitively.
Maybe, but yeah, apart from AI, even just the other types of technology, kind of like how the new phones come up and
Yeah,
the new
that's what
gadgets and stuff.
I
Like,
would I would suggest, maybe that we won't have phones, at least in the way of
you think
needing
so?
to use them. Yeah, like, it's already going that way a bit with, like, you can
Mm.
ask Siri or whatever. and that's now plugged into ChatGPT. You can ask it to do whatever and search whatever or find whatever or open whatever. So I think that's just going to become more and more like that. So it's just a conversation.
Yeah, that will be cool, to be honest. I think that will definitely be cool to not need to have a screen, obviously. Well, a phone as such. I think you will still have a screen, like in the form of, we've talked about before, like AI glasses and stuff that project a screen, like in space in front of you, effectively.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how things, at least I think what Silicon Valley is visualizing for the future,
Mm.
for things to be almost like transitioning from a phone to something else. But I don't think we're yet there, because obviously glasses are still bulky. Even those AI glasses seem to be a bit bulky now.
Yeah.
But we might get there. I think I was reading something at some point that people were saying no one believed at first that, obviously, when first mobile phones came, people didn't want to carry them around. People didn't even want to have a phone on them.
Mm.
So, and look at us now. There's no one who's like going out without their phone.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's maybe what's going to happen with AI glasses, maybe, I think, in the
Maybe.
future.
Although I guess part of the reason people were not keen on carrying their phones around to start when phones started coming out is because they're quite a bit bigger, I believe.
Hmm.
It depends how far back we go in, but yeah, like in the 80s, they were pretty massive. So you can understand why people wouldn't go out, and it would look uncool to go out with one of those huge phones dangling off your belt. But yeah, it's different, I guess, with virtual reality.
Hmm.
Or AR rather, augmented reality glasses, because it's well, they are yeah, like the phone has become pretty much universal for everyone going outside. You take your phone with you, but that's because you can fit it in your pocket and you can forget about it, and it's as if you didn't have your phone most of the time, but you've got the option to take it out. Whereas VR glasses, if you're not a fan of wearing, or AR glasses rather, if you're not a fan of wearing glasses and that's still considered uncool or whatever by you or society, then it might struggle to take off to the same extent as phones, because it's a bit more intrusive. It's always there. People can always see you have it. Whereas
Hmm.
the phone, like obviously we know nearly everyone has one, but we can't see it, so it doesn't come into a factor in our interactions with each other.
Yeah, but if the glasses are effectively indistinguishable from like reading glasses, or like, glasses like, or like prescription frames that people use, then like, obviously everyone wearing glasses, it'll be it'll be noticeable. But
Yeah,
I think the uptake will not be as hard as being seen holding a phone now.
yeah, it might be just once enough people do it, and that's only a matter of time, and it's just going to become more and more popular.
Mm.
So yeah, even if you get a sort of low critical mass of like 10% of the population, then that's only going to slowly make it more and more popular to wear glasses, because it's going slowly more and more acceptable,
Oh, I'd be
or
loving
not
it.
cool, not
I'd
uncool.
personally be loving it if I had them. I'd be like getting out the bed, putting them on, like having the headlines of the news, just
Yeah,
like going scrolling along in my visual field while I'm like brushing my teeth or something,
yeah.
and like then as while I'm having like a like a glass of water or something in the morning,
I
or
just
a
wouldn't want to
coffee.
wear glasses if I didn't need a prescription. I just think that's one of the nice things. If you, I had laser eye surgery. I actually only wore glasses for driving in the car, but like obviously you don't need laser eye surgery. But one of the nice things about it was, yeah, well, now I'll never have to wear glasses again, and it's not
Yeah,
like
but
you don't. Not glasses are fine, but it's not like
yeah.
it's just slightly better not to have glasses. I would say for me.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. That's the thing, because I wear sunglasses every time I go out. Effectively, like my eyes are like super photosensitive. Like I can't cope, even if it's like overcast. Like my eyes hurt, so I wear sunglasses while I'm out all the time. If the sunglasses also had a screen in them and they were like smart and they could record all I'm saying and everything else, like I'd be all for it personally. I'd be loving it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, in terms of what I raise as a criticism of not wanting to wear glasses is has a slight criticism, and in the weight of a very compelling reason to use these augmented reality glasses, I think most people will be swayed to use them, and they realize all your friends are doing these cool things with them. That's
Mm,
I don't want to miss out.
yeah. I mean, I already find I'm already jealous of people taking videos with those new Meta glasses. You know, the Ray-Ban Meta glasses that have a camera and they also have like an assistant on them. I don't know if you heard of them.
I didn't know about the assistant. What, it's an AI assistant? Is it?
I think so. I think it's an AI assistant.
Hmm.
I don't know how good it is, but I've seen videos of people wearing them, and it's very uncanny because you kind of see them walk around, or you see them standing in front of a mirror, and then you realize that there's no phone in their hands. It's just the video comes from the glasses, so it's a little bit weird when you see it,
Yeah,
like
and
when you see
also,
a
like,
video from them.
if everyone's got these glasses in future or similar glasses, then we're not going to necessarily know if someone's filming at this time or whatever, and it's going to be like
Yeah,
we're not in. Even though we live in a very technological age right now, and we have done the last sort of whatever how many decades, like we still have a lot of stuff which allows us to go back to how things used to be. So I think
I,
Elon Musk retweeted a
mm,
post from someone saying, yeah, appreciate this time now in our lives, because
mm,
in 10 years, even maybe 2 years, this might not be possible to, not have drones overhead everywhere, not have people.
cameras everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, it's all these things will happen because of our own convenience. But do we really want them?
yeah.
Self-driving as well, you won't be able to even go down the road in some countries and have a nice drive.
Mm.
So a lot of these things that we took for granted may go. They might not. It might be as people are good at standing up for
You,
for this stuff.
you know in what way they will go? They'll be like, yeah, it's fine. You can drive your car if you want, but your insurance premium will be 10 times more than if you were actually um, having an always self-driving car.
Mm.
So there you go. You're either super rich and then you can only drive if you are actually ready to
Yeah.
pay the insurance premium, or like everyone else, like 90% of the population or more, you'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna be paying like the 10 times cheaper insurance and never
Mm. And
being
then a
allowed
lot
to
of
drive
people are
again.
just going to be trying to become rich for another reason, and that reason is to so you can spend some time getting back to how things were, like
Yeah,
getting back to nature, the basics,
yeah,
the
yeah.
things which we like, and that
Everything is
will
getting commodified. Everything is
yeah,
getting
these
commodified.
things were always free originally, or are not that expensive to do, like walking out in nature, and fresh air, and whatever, which might not be
Yeah, I swear. Like I
as
was
easily
telling to
accessible in the
you.
future.
Yeah, I was telling to you the other day. It feels like things that we could actually access for free now we have to pay for. I'm getting upset about seeing things that used to be free now having to pay for, and it makes me feel like the future will be like you have to walk outside your house and you'll be just charged instantaneously just to walk outside your house. Like you'll be paying some kind of fee, or even just to breathe outside or something. I don't know. Even your
Mm.
oxygen will be charged soon.
Yeah, well,
Like
probably I don't know if that's going to happen, but something ridiculous will happen, like if given time, like something ridiculous along those lines will happen, and it's just whether we decide to stand up for it, up to it, and can we stand up to it? I think that's the question. So you really do need to maintain democracy and individual power in the face of technological development.
mm, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Um, I just think that the future will certainly be very different than what we're having now. As you said, Elon Musk is right to say that things will be very different in the future. But I see it, you know, younger generations of people, I think, are much more like aware, self-aware, and also much more um, resigned to think that they're always watched effectively
Mm.
because of everyone is kind of like recording in the background these days, or they're around their peers who are always recording. So I think we're gonna be I think even for us it's a little bit weird to be filmed while you're out on the street. But I
Yeah.
think for younger people, I don't think they'll have those qualms with being filmed. at all
Yeah,
times, even just
perhaps
because
not.
because
But
they've.
that does sort of like take your freedom away. Not that um, you're necessarily going to do something bad and you do it out in public, or it just means you have to be maybe a little bit more on your guard about what you say and how you say things.
Mm,
And I think we at least need the ability to be a bad person or bad person. You know, like
mm,
we don't want to be made into perfect people because, or seemingly perfect people, just because we're on camera all the time. And same with like Alexas in our houses. Some of us don't even feel our houses are private because
mm.
Alexa could, I'm not saying is, but could be listening and recording and have that data forever on you.
I thought they already said that it's actually listening and it's already been sending.
I think it's listening because it has to listen for the word Alexa, but I don't know if it's actually um, sending our data back or all the data back, and whether it stores it forever, or you can definitely delete it yourself. You can go in and delete the data that's been stored. It's just whether it's been stored locally on your app or it's been sent back to Amazon.
I was actually, that reminded me of, I had seen a post on Reddit, I don't know, like a few months back, that was saying everything you say to your Echo will be sent to Amazon starting on March 28th. Amazon is killing a privacy feature to bolster Alexa Plus, the new subscription assistant. So,
Right, you had to pay for privacy, do you know?
probably, like, I hadn't read it, but I had seen something about it, and, um, yeah, it seems like all the data will be sent to Amazon. So
Lovely.
yeah, the expectation of privacy will cease. And can you imagine the stress? I mean, this is the problem. I think like young people obviously have so much more stress now. Like, can you imagine having the stress of being always watched or potentially being put on social media at any moment?
Yeah, and also
Where
the feeling you don't have a freedom just to sometimes just be completely you or
yeah,
completely out your
yeah,
mind for
yeah,
a second, just
yeah, yeah.
with anger or joy or whatever, and just yeah, we can't always be. Yeah, it's like you're taking. It can be stressful for some people to go outside and converse with people for a whole day because you have actually having to hold up a persona, a mask
Mm,
sometimes,
mm.
um, and then if you're having to, you can't take that mask off when you get home. Then I just you're going to be wearing some sort of mask all the time, and that creates a heaviness, and we're not quite as light as we were.
No, I mean, I was watching a video of someone who was saying, oh, they were sitting in a canteen somewhere and they were having something to eat, but they didn't they didn't know how to eat it. I don't know. It was kind of weird. The food was weird, and they were making a mess in the way they were eating it. And they thought, "Oh, it's fine. No one is watching me. No one is actually watching me. No one cares." And then a day later, they saw a video of themselves taken by someone who was sitting in the canteen making fun of them.
Mm.
So effectively, someone is watching now. It's not just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thinking that you're
We
being
can't really go
watched.
back. We're already on that path.
Yeah, at any
It's already
moment, someone
possible.
could
Yeah.
like pull their phone up and then record a high definition video of you doing something stupid at all times. Can you imagine like growing up in this? Like that'd be so rough.
Mm.
Like that every moment of your silliness could go viral on social media and
Yeah,
you
maybe
could.
affect your future employment prospects
Yeah.
or whatever, or your future romantic life. I don't know, but yeah, it is. It's not ideal. Like, I'm not sure what the solution is, but
It's not ideal for
yeah,
sure. It already starts feeling like a Black Mirror episode in some
yeah.
ways.
Well, and like the royal family, they've had to face this for at least several more decades than all of us have, and probably a lot of celebrities. But you can really think of examples of the royal family and just uh, photographers putting what they thought were their private acts, maybe in the backyard of a
Mm.
nice property that they rented or whatever. And now photographers are able to clip pictures, and that's been the case for like I don't know a while. But now it could be the case for all of us. We're not just feeling sorry for the royal family to have to put themselves through that. We're feeling sorry for ourselves because we're all potentially not got that freedom because someone potentially, not necessarily, but potentially might be watching.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to the royal family, I have less sympathy for them to a degree, because even if they were doing something stupid, they wouldn't have to justify it to their boss, the next day on Monday morning when they went to work. It's a bit
Yeah,
different, I think.
well, that's true, but I would say, yeah, if your boss found out you'd done something weird at the weekend, then that's kind of bad. But then if loads of people, like for instance, like Fergie's toe sucking scandal, where or yeah, like and there's a few other examples.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, like if imagine you were in that position, and next day all headlines are about you and that
I mean, yeah,
picture.
yeah, it is
That would be
rough.
worse, I think, than actually losing your job. It is
It,
in terms of the human psyche, because we fear rejection perhaps above any other rejection. That's why public speaking is we fear more than death. Some people say.
that's true. Public speaking can be rough. A lot of people have panic attacks when they think about public speaking. So,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, I suppose it's true, but I think we're definitely headed in a less privacy era in many ways. Like, I think it's already there's no expectation of privacy if you are out in public now for most people. Like, and that you could be recorded at any moment. I think we don't really think about it until someone starts recording people, and we have, I don't know, you must have seen videos of people getting recorded and they're saying, "Oh, you're not allowed to record me." The person says who's being recorded,
Mm.
and the other person says, "No, I can record. You're in a public space, and it's legal for me to record in a public space." And a lot of people don't seem to realize that or understand that
Mm.
in many cases. So they're like, "No, no, no, I'm calling the police, blah blah blah," and it's
Mm.
just the case is that you can actually be recorded if you're in a public space, in a public place.
Yeah, and like maybe it'd be good to legislate against that, but I think that would be both difficult to do and maybe not ideal either.
No, and even the implementation would be so difficult when everyone has a camera in the hand now. I
Yeah,
don't think it would be possible to police even. So,
maybe AI, Robocop, which yeah, be careful what you
but
wish for.
those robot dogs that are now being used by some even police forces I've seen in some countries where they can chase suspects down and stuff, and we're
What,
gonna have
you're going to be chased by a robotic dog,
yeah, yeah, they've
right? And
been
what happens when it gets to you? Does it pounce on
they
you?
I've
Like,
seen I don't know no I had
because
seen
it can get to you
no
maybe if it's
no no no
faster, but what
yeah
does it
yeah
actually do?
no it can do stuff because I had seen one that can actually deploy a net and catch you with
Wow,
a
okay,
net. So it's like, yeah, it's actually possible to
that's
catch
scary. You
you.
got this like metallic dog who's faster than you're probably able to catch up with you, and just throws a net over you.
Yeah,
That'd be,
literally, like this is the future, I think.
lovely.
No, I have actually seen some videos of these kind of robotic dogs that can actually chase people down, and they even have guns on them. And I don't know where they're being trialed, but I've seen they have all the bells and whistles to take down like criminals and stuff.
Yeah, trouble is a lot of this dystopian technology is already possible. It's just
Yeah.
rolling it out, so public willingness and also the cost to roll it out. So yeah, yeah, I think perhaps we can use technology to safeguard ourselves against the problems of technology, but also I think we have to probably use legislature to not that I'm a fan of big government, but I'm a liberal at heart.
Mm.
And I think actually the certain laws could be the best and known perhaps only way of safeguarding us.
Mm.
Obviously, you have to be very careful with that because the government could use it, use that reasoning in to make laws which actually suppress us more.
Yeah, in nefarious ways instead, were
Yeah,
we?
yeah. But that's not to say we shouldn't think about how to make laws in terms of yeah, making things don't get any worse and maybe make things better.
Yeah. The problem is that even our laws are being usually lobbied by big companies and big corporations, as big tech companies, obviously lobby the governments on laws that usually favor them. So I'm not sure if we can even trust the laws that we're going to be having against,
Yeah.
in favor of privacy
Well, that's
and in
probably why
favor
one of
of.
the most important things is to get to work out how we can use technology or whatever means to produce a system that we can trust, a government which we can trust, because that's sort of the first step. And you can't trust the people in it, because and you don't condemn them either. Like, people in a system like that are going to sometimes corrupt. So
Mm,
you have to work on creating a system which is less corruptible. You probably never get perfect, but that's the first step before you can do anything else to try and help your society. You need to get a government which people trust,
mm,
in terms of that, not a certain party that people trust, but the actual system itself needs to be transparent and whatever else, for people to trust it.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, maybe AI will help on that, creating a more transparent system in
I
that
think it
way.
could. I think it could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's yeah. The people who are against AI or scared of it actually can blind you from thinking how it can actually be a positive.
Mm. No, I agree. There's nothing that we've created that cannot be used in a negative way.
Yeah.
Like everything that we've created can have negative
Well, it all comes out of the mind,
uses. Yeah.
and the mind can have a negative effect on us as well, on its own, but also the mind can help itself get out of those struggles if you, rather than clinging on to concepts, ideas, whatever, must needs, you're using the mind to properly reason through all the steps, and it usually only takes a maximum of 3 steps until you can actually let go of that limiting belief.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of an example.
It's all right.
But yeah, like I think actually, yeah, people, a lot of spiritual people, and like, think that if you're using your mind to, there's no way to use the mind to get out of the mind, and that might be true in some ways. But I also think, yeah, we're so used to using our mind, it might be our best tool in terms of overcoming our stagnant thoughts. And it's almost not the problem with thinking, but we get stagnant, or we get
Mm.
stuck on something. We're not unsticky, and so
Mm.
once something gets stuck in the system, and then everything else can rebuild around that. The sort of persona and ego and all that stuff can just reassemble.
I think Alan Watts said something about similar to that, that the mind
Probably, yeah,
shouldn't be sticky. I like that.
yeah, unstickiness.
Yeah, the unstickiness of the mind is like a really good concept. That is, it's very hard to kind of live by.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
especially I don't know how other
It's
people
like
like.
whack-a-mole.
Yeah,
Like, you always it was, yeah, like it's a practice a day, like
yeah, it's a
every moment almost. And
it's a
yeah,
muscle that you
it's
have
not
to
like you're
kind of.
aggressively whacking every thought when it comes down. And whack-a-mole will say, you need to let go of that, let go of that, let go of that. But
Mm,
it's sort of that you're training your brain to sort of just get better at noticing and then dropping. So it's sort of a game. You can think of it in that way, and yeah,
yeah, it's hard. I find
yeah,
myself
it
like
is.
my brain
But it's
over
hard and it's
fixates.
easy.
Yeah,
It's easy, like, when you
I
get
d-
it, like, but also it can be very easy to slip back into an old way of doing things. Like, yeah,
for sure, but I think it also depends on the type of brain you have. Like I'm not,
maybe,
again. I don't want to make excuses because again, we were just talking earlier about taking accountability and responsibility for your actions. But like, I get hyper fixated at stuff at
mm,
times. Like, and it's so hard to kind
yeah.
of come out of it.
I think the key is not in saying, "Oh, I shouldn't be getting frustrated," or "I need to find a way out of this." It's more, or saying you need to let go, and, "Oh, why I'm so bad for not being able to let go," and there's still this tension there. But if you used your reason, but to get to a place where I call it, you get to a place of okay either way. So to
Yeah.
fully reason things out, which it doesn't mean thinking forever, but it doesn't mean thinking not at all. Just thinking, reasoning it out, and realizing the worst case scenario is perhaps not as bad as you thought. Often it isn't. And then, yeah, just reasoning out using reason to realize that it pretty much is okay either way, and it's not worth stressing too much about. Like, so yeah, so you might be like, oh, am I going to get this job promotion or not?
Mm.
Like, what's behind that fear or that worry that you're having? And it's like, if you question it, it might be you're motivated by partly sometimes the wrong reasons, or not the wrong reasons, just reasons which you don't need to be motivated by because they just come from ego.
No, for sure. I also think that if there is something you can do about the best way of thinking things is if you can do something about it, do it. If you cannot do something about it, then don't stress about it, because if you do, then you suffer twice. You suffer
Yeah,
beforehand, and then you suffer if things go wrong.
but you
So
could suffer again by getting annoyed that you're not letting go as well.
yeah,
Of,
then you keep suffering, suffer
feeling
before,
guilty
suffer
that you're not
after.
doing a better job at managing
Yeah,
this. Yeah. Um,
yeah, you suffer multiple times, not just twice. So it's exactly that as you've described. Like as you said, you can worry about not getting that promotion, and then you don't get that promotion, and then you don't, and then you suffer again, and then you suffer about, well, what could I have done to get that promotion? So it's like it's a
yeah,
cycle of
yeah.
negative spiral, I
Control the
suppose.
controllables, and yeah, that's what the British sailing teams. Well, I don't think it was their motto, but I remember being told that so many times as a amateur athlete of yeah, just control the controllables,
Mm,
which I think is pretty sound life advice. Like, it's not going to solve everything, but it's pretty much on the mark of if you were to learn one thing. There's a serenity prayer, isn't there, in Christianity, which give me the power to know. What is it? Give me the power to. It's something like, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's something like,
all
give
right.
me the power to. Oh, come on! Give me the power to surrender the things I don't control, and
Okay.
do something about the things I
Mm,
can control, and
mm,
to know the difference.
yeah. Yeah, as you said, that's actually key. Knowing the difference is, it's not always easy to know the difference of things you cannot control. You kind of need
Yeah,
to kind of think well sometimes on that point about
but
the
yeah,
things you can and
that's
cannot
true.
control.
And
It's
I
not
do also,
always it's not always clear.
yeah, but I guess it's always worth inquiring whether you actually can control it when you think you can't, because a lot of our suffering, not all, but a lot of it is actually self-imposed, and so yeah, maybe even all, to some extent, in terms of you can compound the suffering by, oh, you get shot in the leg and then you're never going to be able to walk again, whatever. You're
Mm,
yeah, you can compound that suffering with a bad attitude, or you could make it a lot less of a problem, a lot less, by yeah, having a good attitude to it.
mm. Oh yeah, yeah. We already know that there is cases where obviously the brain is the human brain is the strongest force in the universe. I think it has the power to heal us. It has the power to. We know the placebo effect. I keep saying it's my favorite
Mm,
power. Like um, it has the power. People have been told that they're never going to walk again, and just
yeah,
by sheer willpower, as you said, someone gets shot in the leg and they're told, "No, that's it. You're never going to walk again. You're never going to exercise again. You're never going to." Or even athletes, you're never going to be able to compete again. And through sheer willpower, people have been able to come back from impossible odds. So
yeah.
it's you know it's something to not um, underestimate, for sure. I would say.
Um,